Welcome to Going Forward, where inspiring conversations with leaders and entrepreneurs shape tomorrow. Dive into the depths of their journeys, the hurdles they've overcome, and the insights they bring to the future. Let's get moving right here, right now on Going Forward.
This episode of Going Forward is brought to you by Optimizer, the award-winning PPC management tool trusted by advertisers worldwide. Need to save time and supercharge your ad performance? Optimizer makes managing PPC campaigns on Google, Facebook, Amazon, and Microsoft easier than ever. With automation, smart insights, and powerful optimizations, you'll work smarter, not harder. Try it free for 14 days at optimizer.com/go/VIP and take your ads to the next level.
Hey, Going Forward Nation, it's your host, Elliott here, and I lead the teams at VIP Marketing and Craft Creative. And today we have a special guest. You guys probably hear me say that a lot, man, Josh. They hear me say that a lot. But I have someone who's really special on the line, Mr. Joshua Lenon here. And I've been chasing Joshua down because I said, Joshua, we need you on here. We need you on this podcast to talk about all the goodness of Clio, what Clio does, where the future of law firms are going, what's happening, what are attorneys thinking, all these things, AI. I'm just going to jam pack this today. And also just have my friend, Joshua on today. Joshua, I want to thank you for being part of Going Forward Nation. And let these folks know exactly who you are and what you do, Joshua.
You got it. Thank you, Eric. It's actually a real honor to be here. So I appreciate you including me. I'm Joshua Lenon. I'm the lawyer in residence at Clio. It is a made-up title where I actually help a legal technology company research and understand the needs of lawyers. So it's very meta. As a lawyer myself, I practice law. I understand the professional and ethical and unfortunately commercial aspects of running a law firm, and seeing how technology can impact that and how we can help lawyers understand how to run their law firms in a way that is sustainable, enriching, better for them and their clients. Those are the goals here at Clio. And so my job is to figure out what those pain points are, translate them to a technology company so we can help solve them, and then vice versa, translate technology back to our customers, law firms all around the world.
You bring up such an interesting topic right there. And right before we started out, we were talking about like how we met a law firm owner, and they kind of hesitated on moving forward with any kind of technology, and they were running their law practice off of Excel, right? They were running off of Excel and just QuickBooks. And one of the things I told you was people just don't know where to go. Like I know, it's very unique. Like your position, like you said, it's made up, but you add a lot of value to the Clio platform and also to the law firms there. So my question to you is, how do law firms know where to start when things are moving so fast, Joshua?
That's a great question. And one of the things that is not unique to lawyers, but really heavily prevalent with lawyers is we are precedent driven. We're trained in law school to look at what's kind of the history and relationships and tests that people have gone through to come up with decisions before. It's how you read case law, right?
Right.
And so it's kind of drilled into us, like, look for precedent, look for precedent, look for precedent. And I don't think that's bad advice when it comes to technology, right? You can look at what other people are doing and how they're using it. And one of the primary sources that I recommend people take a look at is their regulator. So their bar association or law society, if you're not in the United States, they have taken a look at and worked with a lot of legal technology providers and then are now offering them as member benefits.
Yeah.
So the thing about that is twofold. First, you get a narrowing of technology choices to people whom your regulators are okay with. You're not going to run into trouble with them. But second, they almost always negotiate a discount on your behalf. So not only do you narrow the choices that are out there to technology vendors who are kind of vetted, who understand the needs of the legal vertical in a very specific way, who have worked with your regulators on ethical and professional guidelines and making sure that we live up to those. And then the second thing is you get it for cheaper. So why not start there?
Right. That's you might have a resource right in your own backyard when you're talking about technology and kind of where to start from. Because I just think like people hear of all the different ones, and we don't want to use the show to be competitive. We want to use the show to be able to provide value. But they hear of all these different ones, all these different technology platforms. So if they're talking to the bar association and they're getting insight and guidance, what are some of the things, like if you were starting over today, that you would tell those even new law firms or even law firms who are about to hit that stride, that they should look for in a technology or a customer relationship management system like a Clio?
Yeah, there are a couple things that I think law firms need to consider. And again, somewhat unique to law firms. One of which is we have keeping requirements that actually stretch like years to decades into the
Yeah.
future, right?
Yeah.
And so you should never get into a piece of technology that you don't know how to get out of. And so one of the things that's somewhat unique to Clio is we started as a cloud-based company, and that means we're built on web standards, which are interoperable from their very beginning, right?
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
the website that we're recording this podcast on uses certain code that is just accepted as necessary to function on Macs, on PCs, on Chrome versus Safari, right? There's this interoperability built in. Prior to Clio and cloud computing, most legal software was very proprietary.
Hmm.
You were kind of locked into it. You couldn't get your data
Hearing
out.
that word, I remember hearing that word. We have a proprietary system. Yeah.
Exactly, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so partially technology, but partially understanding of our customer base, we knew we had to keep interoperability available,
Mm.
and make it not just easy to log on, but to log out. And
Yeah.
so we have, with the right permissions, the ability to export your data, machine readable and person readable format. We have no IP claims to your data, right?
Mhm.
Because the idea is we got to be good enough to keep you.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at a legal technology vendor, first thing you should be looking at is not just how easy is it to join, but how easy is it to leave?
Wow.
Like, does it set me up for the next
Mm.
next piece of software that I'm going to be using? Most lawyers practice for decades, right? And
Yeah.
we're just at still, I think, the infancy of legal technology. The second thing you should be looking for is transparency,
Mm.
right? Um, it's lawyers are where the buck stops in every decision in a law firm, right?
Got
From
it.
what we had for lunch to what technology we're using to the actions we take before a judge, right? The lawyer is ultimately responsible for the decisions that are made within a law firm.
Mhm.
And so you want a legal technology vendor that gives you all the information you need to make informed choices about them. And so they should be disclosing not just the good, but also the
Mm.
bad. What are the limitations? Where do we not quite meet like the questions you're asking? Um, and that helps you understand, is it the right tool for me? Is this the right tool in terms of security? Is this the right tool in terms of usability by my clients? Right? Because when you're picking a lot of the software out there, it's not just you, the lawyer, is going to be using it. They also provide a lot of features for your clients.
Right.
For example, Clio actually has a client specific mobile app that every law firm gets. And so your clients can download Clio for Clients and interact with you, send secure messages that are encrypted, use the phones on their camera as document scanners. So you get like actual scanned PDFs rather than
Mhm.
some picture that they took, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and we even provide it in multiple languages, English and Spanish. So you need to be considering and looking for that transparency and disclosure of all the functions and features and limitations such that you can make those informed choices. Another thing we do to make that really helpful is we have a trust center where we publish things like reviews and audits that are done by third parties, our
Yes.
security and encryption certificates, the ability for you to ask questions from our internal compliance team, the ability to take a look at and get a signed business associates agreement if you have, say, HIPAA requirements as a law firm. So that type of ease and transparency is the second thing you should be looking for. So how do I exit this tool from day one? And
Well,
then how are they being transparent about both the good and the bad within the company?
as you say that, and I'm listening to you talking about like the mobile apps and scanning documents, like, I was in media about over 20 years. I'm showing my age a little bit. Never mind the grade, Joshua. Okay.
I had to shave
But
off my goatee because I was showing the gray. Yeah.
but one of the things like I always think about when as we approach different law firms and even hearing about things like Clio, I always wonder like how did people do it before? The process must have moved very, very slow to now it's like we can scan things on our phone. You can run an ad, a client can call you. You don't have to see them face to face to be able to hire them using Clio, right? So
Oh,
like
absolutely.
so how I mean, is that like a shock to some law firm owners? Let's just say like the ones who've been in it for a while, they're kind of resistant to technology, and the ones who have grown up with technology, they're moving a lot faster.
So I think less so than you think.
Wow.
But definitely it's behind a lot of other consumer businesses.
Mhm.
And the reason it's not as broad a shock as you think is because lawyers are people too, right? And they're out
Yeah,
living their
that's true. Yeah.
lives and yeah,
Yeah.
and buying movie tickets and booking dentist appointments and all the things that we do online now, right?
Yeah.
And so they're seeing that ease of use and how technology has just changed the consumer experience. What they haven't figured out, and this is what's the shock, is how easy it can be for them to change
Well,
their client experience. And that's one of the things that we're trying to help lawyers learn and implement is that same ease of use that you enjoy with any other thing that you do, getting a library book, going to a dentist,
yeah.
buying a car, right? It's not just small stuff, but big stuff now is online. You can have as a part of your law firm, and here's how.
It almost reminds me like one time we were in the grocery store and my son saw his teacher.
Mm,
And he was like, "Oh, what is she doing here?" It's like, well, she's got to eat too. You know what I mean? So I think we always think
yeah,
like, like the lawyers aren't the consumer. Well, they like Instagram, they like music and all those things as well too.
yeah.
So how tough is it right now? Like, and then how often do you guys listen to the feedback of some of the lawyers that are there to make improvements? Because like you said, like the technology, the transparency, exiting, all those things are super important. But like when the lawyer has made that decision to say like, I want a software or I want a Clio, how important is it to you guys to make sure that you're making these technological advances, to keep up or be ahead of the times?
Oh, yeah. That's actually a really great question because um, one of our internal values is customer success comes first.
Mm,
We believe that what lawyers do matters,
yeah.
um, not just as a customer and keeping their business going, but the work that they're doing for their clients, right?
Right.
The good that when we help a lawyer, the good that we help enable is not just a successful law firm, but successful clients becomes exponential. So
Mhm.
customer success comes first for us. So we do have to make sure that as we're building software, as we're maintaining it, as we're releasing it, it's got to work,
Yeah.
right? There's very little margin for error
Right.
in a software like Clio, and so we have like on-call security engineers. We have a customer support team that's available 24 hours a day, every business day, right?
Wow.
Because we know lawyers aren't working just 9 to 5.
That's true. Oh, yeah,
And so,
absolutely.
yeah, um, but and we also have built-in feedback mechanisms within our own tools. Some of those are automated, right? We can see if
Mhm.
pages are loading fast enough, but some of it's just direct feedback where we have within our app opportunities for customers to just rank us and tell us, are you having a good day
Yeah.
with Clio? And if not, why? And those are fed company
Wow.
wide, right? And we get that direct feedback sometimes hundreds of messages a day, sometimes hundreds of good messages, sometimes hundreds of bad, right?
Yeah.
But we listen to them all. But there's a flip side to that. And if you want to be cutting edge and if you want to be the future, you also have to go to where your customers aren't thinking.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a cliche adage, right? If Henry Ford had listened to customers at the time, right, he would have built a better horsewhip. rather than a better car, right? And so we are looking both for leading law firms and listening to what they're doing, but also
Mhm.
what's happening outside the legal space and making sure that we're bringing the best innovation globally into the legal industry. And so some of the things that we've done that have really helped with that have been client facing technology, right? Like our client portals and Clio for Clients. About 5 years ago, we made a really big investment in financial technology services for law firms, where we're helping them accept credit cards, checks. We've just added wire transfers, right?
Wow.
Because we know that cash flow is one of the most important things to keeping a law firm up and running and sustainable, right? And so, how do we improve collections? How do we improve um, the flexibility of payment options that
Mhm.
make it easy for a client to hire a lawyer?
Yeah.
We do an annual report. It's built on aggregated, anonymized data from tens of thousands of contributing law firms, right? So we can't see confidential and private information, but we can see like how people are using Clio. And when we enabled a payment plan feature for law firms, what we found is it actually increased revenue by 70 percentage points among solo and small law firms,
Oh,
40 percentage points
really?
on larger law firms. Yeah, because clients who normally would not be able to afford a law firm in like a lump sum payment now can. And so it just opened up this whole new class of business and cash flow for law firms that just didn't exist before. So,
Wow.
yeah, we listen to our customers every day. But we also try to think about things they haven't considered yet and how we
Mhm.
can bring that into their practice as easy as possible.
And that's interesting, and you bring up a great topic about, hey, you have to kind of think ahead of time to kind of see like where it's going, get the insight to be able to help them. I mean, are there any like success stories that you remember on like, how Clio has improved, or like you said, like the financing option or the pay, the paying at a time has kind of help them grow. But other than that, have you ever seen it where like, someone adopted Clio and utilize it for what it's truly worth and what it can truly do, and seen tremendous growth in their business and their firm?
Absolutely. Yeah. And some great examples actually are categorized in we do a customer award that we call the Reismans. And it's named actually after our first customer, Catherine Marino Reisman,
Wow.
who way back in like 2008 took a gamble, right, on a couple guys who had a booth at the American Bar Association's tech show, ABA Tech Show, uh, and spent so much time on the phone just asking questions and like how does it work and can it do this and all that, right?
Oh, wow.
And because of her contribution, right, we asked, can we name like this award for outstanding law firms and lawyers after you? And she said yes. So one of our categories
Oh,
is
man.
best growth story. And so every year we have hundreds of law firms that tell us, right, how Clio helped them grow,
Yeah.
whether it's it helped them get a sense of what their targets were and how they were operating along the way, or as they became more successful than they can imagine, how easy it was to bring more staff on board, right?
Mm.
Or for some, the best growth story is I was able to keep my status quo, but then have this all this extra time for my family and friends, right?
Yeah.
And so I wasn't able the growth wasn't in my law firm, but me as a person. And all of those stories are very gratifying. If you go to Clio.com, Reismans, and it's Reismans, you'll actually see our past year's winners. And I was actually part of the judging committee for our upcoming winners who will
Yeah.
be announcing at ClioCon. And oh my gosh, it's so both humbling and gratifying to
Yeah.
see all the amazing things that people do while using Clio.
That is really awesome. And she provided you guys with some priceless research and development. Trust me, by doing all.
Unbelievable value. Yeah. Every
Yeah.
day we were really thankful that she found us and took that chance.
Isn't that something? I want us to take a break and I want us to come back. But Josh, can I call you Josh? Is that cool?
Please.
Do you friends call
Yeah.
you Josh?
Oh, yeah.
All right. We're friends now. And, for our listeners, they may say like, hey, Eric, why are you bringing up Clio versus any other firms? I mean, any other softwares? Well, here's the truth. We are Clio partners and we believe in the product. And a lot of the law firms that we work with, we suggest them to Clio, especially where they are in their firm and some of the things that you're hearing Joshua talk about today as well, too. So I want us to take a break, Joshua, but I want us to come back and I want us to talk about the spooky AI. How's that?
Sounds good.
All right, let's take a break. We'll be right back. This is Going Forward.
Hold tight, listeners. We're taking a brief pause. Going Forward, we'll be back shortly with more insightful conversations.
Running your law firm is a serious business. When you actually got out of law school, they didn't teach you how to market your business, or they didn't teach you exactly the business of running a law firm. And that's what we do. We want to be able to come in and work with you and your firm so that, one, you can start marketing your firm correctly, coach you on how to get to the next level and where you want to get your law firm. And most importantly, we don't want you to be one of those law firms who are a laughing stock of the community. Don't hire a marketing agency that's going to make you look like a buffoon online or social media and try and make you to be something that you are not. It's time for you to start running your firm the right way. Go to VIPmarketing.com.
If your company feels like chaos and finding anything is like solving a mystery, get Trainual, the app that turns all your scattered company knowledge into an organized playbook, where every employee question has an answer, just a simple search away. Where all of your processes and policies are documented, roles and responsibilities are defined, and delegating anything is as easy as drag and drop. Trainual, it's how you get your operations under control and how you deliver the ultimate onboarding and training experience.
Welcome back to Going Forward. We hope you're recharged because we've got an exciting second half waiting for you. Get ready to dive deeper and be inspired. Let's keep the momentum going.
Welcome back, Going Forward. This is the Going Forward podcast, and you have my guest, Mr. Joshua Lenon, on here. He's a resident attorney. He made this job up. He's like, I'm so good, I'm going to make a job at Clio, and they're going to take it. He's a resident.
Yeah, true story. Yeah.
Look, I didn't even know that. We were talking about, just the growth of Clio, and also, some of the technology, and also, Joshua was telling us about, how important it is to constantly evolve the platform. And has there been like an evolution of expectations that people have now with all the data, or even from the client level? Because the clients know, even in their own lives, Joshua, that, there's AI, things are moving faster. Do they have bigger expectations for the law firms? Because, they may not know they're in Clio, but they know that things are moving faster. But, has the expectations increased from the client side and the law firm side?
Absolutely. I want to cite a court case actually out of Ontario that happened in 2019. And so while Clio, I'm a New York lawyer, I'm licensed in New York, I actually live and work out of Clio's headquarters in Vancouver, Canada. And Clio is in like 108 countries around the world. So I'm trying to keep up with the legal system everywhere. So I cite court cases and things from everywhere. But this particular question, are people expecting more from law firms because of technology? I think this is like a shining example. 2019, two law firms were duking it out over attorney's fees, right? So one side lost, and now the winning side submitted a bill and said, pay me. And the fight was on. And a judge actually wrote down the legal research portion of the bill. It was like $500. And the judge, in the opinion, said artificial intelligence could have found this much faster, much cheaper. You should have done that.
Wow.
There are two things that I think are amazing about that. One, the judge just like inserting themselves and saying this is an unreasonable fee for something that is $500, which unfortunately is a small amount in these types of fights, right?
Yeah.
But the second thing is there wasn't really artificial intelligence as we know it in 2019, right? ChatGPT hadn't come out, right? Legal research tools weren't inserting AI into every corner. It wasn't there. but the expectation of it already was, right?
Wow.
And now we've got people who have artificial intelligence at ChatGPT for free. It's inserted in Google. You can't buy Microsoft without it anymore, right?
Mhm,
It's
mhm.
everywhere.
Yeah.
And so that expectation has only grown. And I think there's one thing that's really kind of working against the legal industry when it comes to this generative AI,
Mhm.
and that is most of what we do is put words on paper,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
You go to a law firm with an outcome in mind, right? I want my kids to get things when I die, or I want to buy this business and make sure the deal goes through,
Mhm.
or I want out of this marriage, right? And I want the house. And what you get instead are words on paper.
Yeah.
And those words on paper are the law firm's best attempt to get you that preferred outcome. Uh, but that's what you get. And so, yeah. And so people are looking at this generative AI and ChatGPT, and they're like, I can get words on paper for free. Does it actually get them that best chance?
Yeah.
Right? Probably not, to be perfectly honest. But they can't tell the difference between bad words on paper and quality words on paper. And so law firms are at a disadvantage out of the gate with this expectation for how technology is going to be changing the practice of law and the perception of how law firms should be adapting, that it should be faster, cheaper, better. And as we all know, you can't have all three,
That's
right?
true. You can only choose two.
Yeah.
And that's so interesting because I had we do creative and things like that for law
Mhm.
firms as well. And one of the things, like, when we were talking to our trademark lawyer, he said, unfortunately, you know, AI just isn't in the books yet. These
Yeah.
things just have not caught up yet. And that's why I was wondering, like, if people had like this super high expectation, because they themselves, they are moving a lot faster with AI in their lives. And so
Yeah.
I was wondering if they thought, like, hey, this thing shouldn't take that long. All this guy's got to do is, put this thing in Chat GPT and figure it out for me.
Yeah.
Um,
And
wondering.
I think again, the ease of the technology itself gives that bad impression.
Yeah.
I also blame a lot of TV shows out there that don't really show what lawyering is like, right?
Suits.
Oh my gosh, everybody brings up Suits. They're like,
Yeah.
"It must be amazing to be a lawyer. It's like Suits," and I'm like, "That's not lawyering. That's
Right.
like those guys are con men who should be in jail." Yeah. So, but that's an aside.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we're gonna continue to wrestle with this.
Yeah.
There is, and this even predates AI. There's an internet acronym, IANAL. I am not a lawyer,
Mm.
right? And if you run a search for that term, one, don't do it at work because unfortunately there might be some not safe for work results. But
Oh,
even the ones that are safe for work, it's millions of them, right? People giving bad legal advice and other people like
mm,
taking it, right? Um, and so ChatGPT is just going to be another avenue where people give bad legal advice. And
yeah.
I think we as a profession can't fight that. It's a losing battle. It's already out there. The genie's
Yeah.
out of the bottle. What we can do is help the people who get bad legal advice get back onto the path to their preferred outcome.
Right.
You
So,
know,
one thing that's happened ever since 2000, you talked about this case that happened a while ago in New York, I think
Mhm.
2018, 19, you said.
2019, yeah.
And things, they are changing now, you know, especially like with things like Clio.
Hmm.
Law firms, it's almost like they can grow faster, because what I don't see happening is law firms trying to build the Taj Mahal of the buildings, that they used to do. What they have
Yeah,
is they have, multiple areas across town in these satellite offices as well. And some of them have kind of developed or adopted like the hybrid work schedule. So are you seeing uses where Clio is helping with hybrid work, or, even satellite offices? I mean, and it's kind of making communication better versus just being in the office.
Absolutely. We, as part of that annual report I talked about, we call it our
Mhm.
legal trends report. It's put out every autumn as a part of ClioCon. One of the things we looked at in 2021 was the return to office movement. And so everybody had gone virtual and fully remote in 2020. And what we found is that people haven't really returned to the office, not at least not in the same way.
Wow.
We saw a 50% drop in non-lawyer professionals no longer going to the office. And honestly, that was the one that surprised me the most. Was lawyers have always had to be a little bit mobile depending upon your practice area, right? Like if nothing else, you might be going to court. You gotta go someplace and be a lawyer at court. But the rest of the office always kind of stayed put.
Yeah.
What we saw was not only are lawyers not returning to their offices full time, but the rest of the firm isn't either. 50% drop in non-lawyers working full time from office. Yeah. So the law firm no longer is a place, right? It's a team, and that team is spread out and working. And so we've had to build in new features in Clio, like a built-in integration with Zoom, so that when you create calendar events, not just within your clients, but with other teammates, right? There's Zoom linked to it. We have an internal messaging tool right now, where you send messages internally and have it be a part of the case record. We have an integration with Microsoft Teams. So if you're a firm that's already using Microsoft Teams, when you create a new matter in Clio, it creates a new team channel specific to that matter. And all the people you add as team members on that matter are automatically in Teams, in Microsoft Teams. I can't stop saying Teams. So yeah, we have had to make like changes in how law firms organize and communicate, because they're already making those changes in the real world.
I love that. I'm going to quote you on that one. When I quote you, I'm going to tag you on LinkedIn on that. You said a law firm is no longer a place; it's a team. I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
I do have this question for you, and it kind of goes along to some of the reports that you guys actually release, the trends report. And one of the things, the questions was, it's like solo and small firms are embracing flat fees, but the billable hour continues to dominate. You know.
Absolutely.
Listen, can we talk about that a little bit? Because there's a lot of firms who wish like they could take their fees up. They don't know if they need to be contingency, billable. You know, can we talk about that?
Yeah. So Clio's legal trends report, again, is the anonymized aggregated data of tens of thousands of law firms. So it's a really rewarding part of my job to get to work on this, because honestly, it's all the questions I wish I knew before I opened my own law firm, and there was no place to go to get the answers. Like, what should I charge?
Yeah.
We can actually tell you the average hourly rate per lawyer, per practice area, per state, right? What's a good collection rate? Like, am I staying on top of my bills? We can tell you that, right? So these are all the type of questions that we ask and work with this huge, enormous volume of contributed, anonymized, aggregated data.
Wow.
So when we look at billing types, there's hourly, flat fee, and contingency. And we can see the prevalence of each by firm size and by practice area. We know that about 15% of solo and small firm matters are flat fee matters. Again, it's not surprising, some of the things that we publish. Things like traffic offenses, for example, are predominantly flat fee. A large proportion of criminal defense matters are flat fee as well. But there are others where we're like, oh, that's flat fee. It's pretty interesting, including IP law, personal injury, and medical malpractice. There's a large percentage of flat fees in there as well. And so we are seeing that the solo and small firms seem to be leading into this, much more so than bigger firms, where about 9% of their matters are. We also see that the billing amount per flat fee is actually growing much faster than the billing amount for hourly fee matters, right? So we've seen about 27% growth in the billing amount for hourly, but around 92% for flat fees. And that tells me that, one, that we're probably handling matters of increasing complexity and only charging a flat fee for it, right? So bigger cases. And second, that clients are leaning into the flat fee and even willing to pay maybe a little bit more to get that price certainty, which I find really interesting, right? And it's
Yeah.
not reasonable to charge that little bit more to give that price certainty. It's a hedge against risk for you as a firm, right? Like, what if this becomes a really big thing? But it's also a hedge for the client that, hey, I need to know and budget for this. What's it going to be? So it's very reasonable to charge this flat fee. So yeah, solo and small firms are leaning into it. Here's a data point, though, from our last legal trends report that I find just incredibly interesting. We also survey firms and clients on top of this data set that I've been talking about, because a good chunk of the time we see the what but not the why. And so we try to pair these off together. And we asked 2 questions in our last survey that just came together in like a big light bulb moment. And we asked firms, do you exclusively charge in a flat fee? Yes or no? And then we asked about, are you using AI, and how widely have you adopted AI into your practice? And the firms that were exclusively billing in flat fee were also the firms that came back and said, yes, we're using AI and we're widely adopting it. We're like using it for
That is
everything.
interesting.
Yeah. And they just figured out that they can automate so much of this process, and it makes it possible for them to charge a flat fee and scale themselves through technology rather than having to scale themselves through hiring more people, and just drive business efficiency and productivity and revenue in like this flywheel format.
Yeah. Joshua, man, you just like hit the nail on the head, because I was going to ask you another question about the trend report, but what I'm seeing happen is that some of these small firms, these boutique law firms, man, they're killers.
Yeah.
And they don't have to be, the 200-person law firm, the 50-person law firm. It's like I'm seeing firms with less than 15 people absolutely kill it in markets. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think it goes along, like you talk about the what, but then I'm seeing them do exactly like what you're talking about. They're incorporating things like the Clio, they're incorporating AI, their fee structures are changing, and they are absolute killers.
They will eat the marketplace. Yeah.
Wow. So boutique's almost in nowadays.
Oh yeah. Well, it's never been out, right?
Wow.
It's a question of what particular type of client are you going for? What's your ideal client, right? And so your Fortune 500s almost never hire boutiques, right?
Yep.
The owners of Fortune 500s do.
Mhm.
And so do small business owners, and so do families, right? And so it's identifying who your ideal client is, and providing that tailored, forward-thinking service to them. And boutiques have kind of that nimbleness to really do that.
Wow.
Mhm.
One of the things that you guys had in here was some information. I thought this was really interesting. It said solo and small firms lead the way in cloud-based legal practice management software adoption. Approximately 4 out of 5 solos in small firm lawyers use cloud-based legal practice management software. So like the smaller firms are adopting it faster than the big firms are.
That's absolutely the case. Yeah, they figured out they need that extra bit of organization. When we look at reports on malpractice claims, and the ABA puts out a report on malpractice claims like every 4 years. The 3 big areas of complaint are like a failure to communicate, a failure to calendar, right? And a failure to account for money, right? And all of those are things that practice management can help with. We also see that smaller firms are disproportionately more likely to get a malpractice complaint. And I don't think it's anything malicious. I think it's just they're having to keep all the plates spinning. Whereas in these larger firms, you can have like an accountant and a bill collector, a legal secretary who's keeping track of your calendar, right? And in these solo and small firms, it's just all on them. So they're, I think, smartly picking legal practice management software like Clio because it helps them keep on track of those details. We have built-in trust accounting and reporting. We have built-in court rule calendaring. So you get served a document from an opposing party. You can jump into Clio and calculate the deadlines for your specific court via their rules on when do you have to have a response, when is the opposing party actually missing a step because they've missed a deadline, and you can capitalize on behalf of your client. We can help you with nudges through our new built-in AI tool saying, hey, you haven't talked to this client for a while. Any updates you want to give them, right?
Wow.
And so all of these things keep you on the right side of these rules and help prevent potential malpractice complaints.
Yeah.
So solo and small law firms are leaning in.
Well, how about, we talked about like, putting things on paper in law firms. What kind of legacy things do you see going by the wayside as technology steps up more?
Oh, that's a great question.
I told you I was ready for you today, Josh.
Yeah. So, all right, this is like way back, but there's this whole set of like briefcases that they're like big and square, and they have wheels and like an extendable handle, right?
Yeah, coming to court.
Yeah, and you're wheeling that and a bunch of banker boxes, and that just doesn't happen anymore, right?
Wow.
What we're seeing is, words are on paper, but that paper is actually digital now.
Yeah.
And we're seeing this transfer of information happening at the speed of light, to be perfectly honest, rather than us having to cart everything back and forth. And that helps with the law firm no longer having to be a place, right? I don't have to have a whole wall of file cabinets with all these records that I have to preserve for a decade, right?
Yeah.
I'm required to by my regulator. And instead, I've got these electronic records. And as long as I've got a good backup, right, I'm compliant. And when my client and I part ways at the end of the matter, right, I can give them all of their files back into digital formats so that they've got things that they can take with them and use.
That's true.
Yeah, as they move on to the next issues that are impacting them, right? And it becomes, I think, a much more portable practice than what we're seeing, not just in terms of where lawyers are working, but the whole system itself is becoming much more mobile. In fact, I think we're even starting to see the rise in district judges riding a circuit. So weird fun fact, they're called circuit judges because they were given like a list of towns and they would ride them going town to town. And this week would be your judge week. And if you had a court case or a criminal trial or anything, that was the week. And then they would hop in the horse on the wagon and they would go on to the next one. Even Supreme Court justices did this for a long time. Yeah. And so as we see like the changes in population and people congregating more towards urban centers, but we still have these rural locations, we're seeing even courtrooms are becoming portable and mobile.
Wow.
And so lawyers are having to adapt to that as well.
Well, especially during COVID, all court was being held on Zoom.
Exactly, right? Yeah, you can still watch court on YouTube in a lot of places, which I find really interesting.
Yeah, same rules apply. I like to talk about like the smaller firms, the underdogs. And when I say small firms, I'm talking like people like under 40, 50 people. Those are still considered small firms.
That's like half the market at least.
Right? Yeah.
People forget those numbers add up.
They do. That's right. How can those smaller firms kind of, leverage AI, not just, for the efficiency, but also to have, how do I say, a better footing in the market, a better reputation in the market, a better standing in the market, to be able to deliver a better service? How do they do that?
Oh, that's a great question. One of the things I really like about generative AI is the ability to define an audience and make sure what I'm writing is appropriate for that audience. Like I write and think like a lawyer. And that makes for horrible advertising copy, to be perfectly honest. Right?
Hey, that's most lawyers, Joshua. That's most lawyers, man.
Yeah, right. For me, I write like a headline and then I have like a paragraph of like disclaimers. Yeah. And sometimes that's appropriate, but it's not very compelling. And so one of the things I really like about AI is I can have it take a look at my writing and ask it, right? Like, is this persuasive to somebody with a high school education?
Yeah.
Is it, am I using like certain guidelines to target people within a different industry, right? Like I'm writing about the legal needs of dentists. I'm not a dentist, right?
Yeah.
I might know the legal needs of dentists, but I'm not a dentist. So
Right.
are there some special terms or anything that I can add to this to make it more applicable to a dentist reading it? Right. And so for a solo and small law firm, getting that type of insight into your customer, it used to take like market research and panels and all of these like crazy effort, right?
Yeah.
That senior lawyers had maybe experimented and kind of gotten lucky and learned over time.
Mm-hmm.
But now solo and small firm lawyers can buy a chat GPT account. I always say, go pay for stuff, right? Don't use the free stuff if you're a lawyer. But buy an account, like define who your audience is, and be open to the suggestions that it's giving you. You're not going to take all of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's going to give you some where you're like, you know what, I didn't think about that. Yeah. And it can help you write for an audience better than just if you tried it by yourself.
Man, you know, Josh, you've kind of seen it all, right? You get to see both sides from, you know, being in practice to, you know, even watching some of these lawyers come up today. You know, it's kind of the last question I want to ask you. And I know this one might be a big one. You know, you see them coming up, but what kind of advice would you give these firms starting out now? You know, like when they are their second year out of law school, well, you know, let's just say they came out of law school, they worked at another PI firm or whatever, another firm for about 3 years. They're like, I had enough. I want to go, you know, open up my own place. They run into you at ClioCon and they're talking to you and saying, I want to grow my firm. What do you say?
It's actually the same advice that we talked about earlier on how do you pick like a legal technology vendor. One, think long term, right? You're not starting your law firm to close it down in a year. So how is my law firm going to operate with the choices that I've made today, like 5-10 years from now?
Yeah.
Right? And the law firms that you mentioned at the beginning who are running themselves on Excel, that doesn't scale, right? They've made a choice that they're going to have to like totally scrap and recreate in something new if they become successful, because Excel just won't work, right?
Yeah.
So pick a system that works when you're small, but also scales to when you're big, right? And those small choices that you make are really important. The second thing that I would recommend is that make time to experiment.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one. That's a really good one.
Get the basics down pretty quick, especially if you've been in a firm before, right? But you're not starting your own firm to do the same thing over and over again. You're starting a law firm to do your thing in the future. So make some time to experiment, right? And it's going to be small, right? You're not going to recreate the wheel. But those little changes are going to add up over time.
Yeah.
If I had to make a suggestion on where to experiment, one of the key performance indicators that we look at for law firms is what we call utilization rate. And it's how much of a workday is spent on billable activity. And right now we're looking at around 32 to 34% of the average law firm day is spent on billable activity. Larger law firms, it's closer to 50%. And it is by far the single biggest indicator of a growing law firm is if they are slowly and surely improving their utilization rate over time.
Wow.
They're delegating that non-billable work out, or they're automating it, and they're focusing their lawyers' time on doing things that are billable and valuable to their clients. So experiments around that, and an experiment can be as small as my team is spending a ton of non-billable time fixing the printer every day because it keeps jamming. Right? I mean, that's a small thing. Like, what if we just bought another printer, or what if we rented one? Right? Does that mean that I'm spending less time on toner and more time on actually working with those words on paper? Yeah, right?
Yeah, that's right.
There's a feature in Clio where it's automated bill reminders. And you turn a click on and make a couple choices, like how often should we remind people? How long after a bill is due should we send this automated reminder, right? And what we found is it's collected literally hundreds of millions of dollars in past due bills, right?
Wow.
And so am I going to spend my time trying to chase this person down, or can I experiment with this feature and see if it does the work for me, right? And then I can spend my time now on my clients who are paying me, and doing the billable work for them. So yeah, make time to experiment. I highly recommend taking a look at things that improve your utilization rate. And if you can nail that, you're just going to see your firm continue to grow and grow and grow. When we did some research on this in 2019, what we found is that firms that improved their utilization rate by about 5 percentage points, it went from like 28 to 33, actually improved their revenue by over 100%. It was the biggest jump of any of their stats.
That is incredible. That's incredible.
Yeah. So really a prime place for any small law firm. And it kind of aligns itself with that business mantra. If you own a business, think like a manager, don't think like an employee. That's where that shift happens. So let's make time to experiment, make time to improve your law firm, make time to manage it such that you're improving it over time.
I love that, especially number 2, where you said, make time to experiment. I think that's awesome. Joshua, I enjoyed my time with you, man. Look at all this value. I think we just wrote a book for people today, So, man, I think
transcript of this, slap a cover on it. We're done.
We're done, man. So, Joshua, if people are looking for you, how do they find you? Tell them how to find you.
Absolutely. I'm on LinkedIn. That's a great place to connect with me. Joshua Lenon, as you see here. I'm also pretty active on Blue Sky, the social network. Again, my username is Joshua Lenon. And then lastly, you can find me at Clio's website, clio.com. We've got a ton of great resources for lawyers, even if they aren't Clio customers. Our legal trends report is available for free. It also includes a benchmark rate calculator, where you can take a look at your fees and the fees of your staff and see how they compare against comparable people in your state. Yeah, we have a ton of great CLE webinars that we host every month. And so lawyers can come and get their CLE and learn a little bit more about legal technology. Those are free as well. And I would be remiss if I didn't point out we got a really great blog with a ton of great content there as well. Yeah, so Clio.com, CLIO.com.
Oh, man, that's so awesome, man. Make sure you hold the line for me. Joshua, thank you so much. I want to thank our listeners of Going Forward Nation for giving us their most valuable asset. That's their time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Eric, and thank you, Nation.
Awesome.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to rate our podcast and share it with a friend. Every share, every comment, every rating propels us forward. For more content, insights, and updates, visit ericelliott.com. Remember, your journey, your story is what keeps us going forward. Until next time.